Hello, it's Jenny Kassan here once again to lay down the law about investing, fundraising for your mission-driven business, etc. And today I wanted to share a little bit about what I'm going to call a tale of two companies and two fundraising strategies. So I'm reading this book right now. I'm going to hold it up. Moving Mountains by Janice Shade. The subtitle is The Power of Main Street Americans to Change Our Economy. There's a foreword by one of my mentors, Michael Schumann, who, by the way, also has a book coming out soon. Um, and I'm just a little bit into it, but she just spent a whole chapter telling the story of her company. She raised a bunch of money for her company. It was actually doing really, really well. And then she had one of her main investors was a venture capital style investor, and they basically pulled the plug on the company when things weren't going exactly as planned through no fault of her own, through just basically a delay that happened, and caused the company to go out of business. So it was like a really successful company. There was just a delay in a big expansion plan that they had on track, but that was going to happen, but had been delayed. So I think I'm realizing, I think that's part of why she wrote the book, is just to say, hey, maybe these kinds of investors may not always be the best fit. And it was funny because I actually had just been speaking with Dan Fireside from Equal Exchange. He's someone I've known for a really long time. He's the capital coordinator at Equal Exchange, which sells products like coffee and chocolate and other delicious treats. And I had invited Dan to be a guest on our monthly Angels of Main Street call. And so one thing Dan had shared with me is that, well, first of all, you may not know that Equal Exchange raised money in a very, very different way from the way Janice raised money for her business. They have about 550 investors. They've raised about 17 million over the years. And their investors have no voting rights. They don't get to put someone on the board, and which is what caused, the problem with Janice. um, and so they, no matter what happens, when they are in good times and bad, their investors are very, very supportive. And so Dan was talking about the current situation, with the current crisis going on, how have things been? And, the investors are super supportive. Their company's actually doing really well right now because people are drinking coffee and eating chocolate. So they're doing well. And he was talking about how, they pay an annual dividend, usually about 5%. And he was talking about how a lot of people are realizing now that that's actually a really good return, um, compared to what's happening in the stock market right now. So anyway, so that company raised money in a very, very different way from the type of funding that Janice Shade got for her business, and many, many companies in the natural products and food and many companies in all industries try to raise money from these investors that are really not super patient, and if things aren't going as planned, they can pull the plug. So one thing that Dan shared that I thought was really interesting is the way they operate, it's very, very important to them that they treat their suppliers really well. They don't want to take advantage of the suppliers, the coffee co-ops, the cacao co-ops, the tea growers. They want to treat them really well and not kind of expose them to an unfair amount of risk. So one thing they do is they actually buy quite a bit in advance and hold a lot of inventory. And, if you were raising money from a kind of a more hard-nosed, financially driven investor, they might say, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Why are you taking on so much risk when you don't have to? Just, get just-in-time delivery, get the minimum amount you need. Um, you know, why do that? But it's always been really important to them to treat the farmers fairly. And so they've always held a lot of inventory. And so he was saying, isn't it interesting that that business practice, which many used to say, many would say in the past that it wasn't the best business practice from a purely financial perspective or risk reduction perspective, but they did it out of their mission and their investors supported that. That's why the investors invested in that company, because they believed in the mission and the values of that business. And so now it's actually turning out to have been kind of a good move, because more and more we are actually seeing some supply chains getting disrupted, not just by the current crisis with the COVID-19, but also with climate change. A lot of the commodities that they're buying, there's a lot less predictability because of changes in weather and things like that. So I just thought that was kind of interesting that sometimes when you have the freedom to do your business practices in a way that are really values aligned, that aren't all about just maximizing short-term profit and reducing risk and putting risk on everyone else, offloading risk to your suppliers, sometimes it can end up being the right way to go, from a business perspective, especially as things get a lot more uncertain. And of course, they've been taking really good care of their suppliers, so their suppliers are doing okay in this difficult time when a lot of small businesses in the developing world are not doing so well. A lot of agricultural businesses. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting to compare what Janice Shade is talking about in her book, Moving Mountains, which I highly recommend, and what Dan Fireside was talking about with Equal Exchange. So that's all I want to share today. And then also I did want to mention that Janice Shade, the author of the book Moving Mountains, who I was just talking about, and it's a fun book. I was just reading her story like it was almost like a suspense novel. It's really well written, and I was like, what's going to happen to her company? So I highly recommend it. It's pretty short, so you could probably get through it pretty quickly. Pretty small book. She's going to be a guest speaker on our upcoming monthly call for Angels of Main Street. So we just had our April call today, and we had our guest Dan Fireside from Equal Exchange, and Janice just confirmed she's going to be the guest on our May call. So if you're not already a member of Angels of Main Street, I hope you will consider joining. If you've just been kind of going crazy thinking like, oh my gosh, I really want to do something different with my money. I don't feel good about what my money's doing in the world. Now's a really good time to join our group, Angels of Main Street. It's a group for anyone who wants to learn and, work with others in a community to put some of your investment dollars, even if it's just a small amount, directly invest that money into small businesses that you care about. And so that group, we have some educational tools that become available to you when you join. And you also, get to join our monthly calls and connect with other members of the group and, find investment opportunities. So it's a really fun group. And if you want more information about it, you can just go to www.angelsofmainstreet.com. I will put the link below the video. Yeah, so angelsofmainstreet.com. Everyday folks and experienced investors both move money into these businesses that we love and care about. And they're trying to make our world better. And as Dan Fireside said, he was like, if you invest in Equal Exchange, you may lose all your money or you may make money. We can't promise. Of course, he's kind of being modest because they've been around for decades and no one's ever lost money. So they're doing well. But, you could lose your money. They could go out of business. But he said, no matter what happens, even if you do lose all your money, you'll still feel good about what that money did in the world. Because guess what? That money went to the pockets of farmers that grow coffee and are part of co-ops. And, it went to pay good wages to workers that actually run their own business, because Equal Exchange is a worker co-op. So that's something to think about. Like because guess what? It's so easy to lose all your money no matter what you invest in. So maybe think about investing in something where even if you did lose your money, you could still say, well, I'm bummed I lost my money, but I know that money did something good in the world. And those are the kinds of businesses that we're supporting through Angels of Main Street. And, when you join, you're not investing in any particular thing. We don't tell you what to invest in. All we ask is that you invest $500 a year minimum in businesses you love and care about. We do present some opportunities, and members can bring opportunities to the group, but it's totally up to you. And it's an honor system thing. We just ask you to tell us, you know, if you did it, and if you're willing to share details, we love it. So it's just a way to kind of start to move the needle on where our money is invested. And now I think is more important than ever because small businesses are going through a lot right now. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And I will put the link that I mentioned for Angels of Main Street below the video. See you next week. Bye.